Good morning, Yasmine.
Hi.
The youngest looking grandmother ever.
I told you it's the filters.
I don't think so. I think it's some good European blood. Okay. Did you do any research at all?
Research with what?
Just as far as did you go on to ChatGPT or anything like that?
For what?
Okay, this is what I did. I took, and this has been, it was kind of interesting. Let me just share my screen. Share screen.
Okay, was I supposed to do research?
No,
I'm sorry.
no, you didn't need to. But I took and I put in here, where is it? Here it is. So I put in here the bio you sent me, telling a little bit about where you're from, telling you that politically, how you and I are on two ends of the opposite ends of the spectrum, how you live in California, I live in Utah. Yeah, just all that kind of stuff. And I said, let's see, how did I do this? I said we're both, and I want to make sure I said this right. I said we're both in favor of property rights. I mean, as real estate agents, that's our MO, is all about property rights, correct? Do you agree?
Right.
If I say something that's not truly representing you, please tell me that that's not me.
Yeah.
And I said we want our we plan on meeting every Friday, doing a short video clips via Zoom, and we want these we'll convert these video clips into shorts, and we want them to go viral. What topics?
Oh, yay!
What topics and conversations have the potential of accomplishing this goal? And here's the thing: usually, AI just cranks it out. It had to think. It was literally just going slow. And I went, oh, it's really thinking about this stuff. And I said, here are 10 captivating topics designed to go viral as short form video discussions, leveraging your unique Utah and California real estate perspectives, life experience, and mutual passion for property rights and humanity.
So what do you mean by property rights? Maybe I need to have you clarify that.
Property right. Well, here in the United States of America, one of the fundamental things. Okay, back up for a second. I'm going to tell you a brief story just so that you see how this all ties together. The way Steph and I, the gal that's my co-host on Idiot to Genius, I don't think did I ever tell you how we came together?
No.
Okay. So what happened was Steph's dad, her father, owns a title company. I had never worked with that title company. I had nothing to do with them in any way, shape, or form. I didn't even know who they were at all. And all of a sudden I get a phone call from Steph, and she said, "Hey, Todd." I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, I'm with Title One." And I said, "Okay." And she goes, "Have you ever heard of us?" And I said, "No, never heard of you." And she said, "Okay." And she said, "But we want you, we would like you to come and be on a podcast." And I said, "What?" And I'd never been on a podcast or anything before. And I said, "You want me to come be on a podcast?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "How did you even find me?" And she said, "Well, first of all, you're a top producer." I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "And number two is you were referred. Somebody referred us to you because you're passionate about property rights." And I said, "Well, every agent on the planet should be passionate about property rights because that's what we exist for. That's our whole purpose in existence is individual property rights." And she says, okay. And she said, will you come on to the podcast? I said, sure, I'll come on to the podcast. So again, I have no idea what I'm getting involved with. I have no idea. I have no clue what I'm doing, you know? So I show up and it's her and her co-host. There's two ladies. And they said, hey, and they start off, we get into the podcast, and I could send you the podcast that we did, but they said, hey, you're passionate about property rights. I said, yeah. And they said, well, property rights, when did property rights start? At the founding of the country, right? I said, no. Property rights started long before that. And they said, when did it start? I said, it's when the Pilgrims came across and came to Plymouth Rock. And they said, are you serious? I said, yeah, that's when it happened. I said, because what they did, they tried communism, they tried socialism, and 50% of them died. They starved to death. And I said, because here's the thing you have to understand why those philosophies don't work. And they experienced it. Because if you're going to take a breadbasket of goods and everybody contributes to that breadbasket of goods and everybody takes from that breadbasket of goods, okay, splits it up evenly, so to speak, then you have no incentive to work. You have no incentive to produce. And that's right. At the fundamental level. It doesn't work. It has failed every time it is tried. Because if you're smart, you won't work. Because I'm going to get the same. Whether I work or not, I'm going to get the same. Yes. Why don't I just go have great sex with my spouse and whatever else, do whatever else, not work, anything that pleasurable and not work. And so anyway, they went, huh? And they were like, and I said, so that's what happened to them. They didn't work. And I said, then what happened was after half of them had died, they finally said, we got to do something different. This is not working. So what they did is they took the ground and they split it up into parcels. And when they split it up into parcels, they said, you've got this many acres. You can do whatever you want with that acreage. You can plant it. You can put beef on it. You can do whatever you want with it. But you're going to live off of whatever you produce. So if you don't produce anything, you will die. Okay. So you have to produce or die. And yes. So what they found out is they produced, and not only did they produced in abundance. And so if somebody was producing wheat, they produced so much wheat that they could not consume it all. So that's how trade started. They said, okay, I'm producing wheat over here and you've got some beef over here. How about if we trade? I'll give you some wheat. And how about if I have half a cow or something like that, you know, so I can have, and I said, and they started trading. And then they started trading with the natives, with the Indians and everything else and all that kind of stuff. And so anyway, I'm having this conversation with them. As I'm going through all this, and they said, well, you're also an investor, right? I said, yeah. And they go, so you invest in real estate? I said, yes. And they said, that is like so risky. I said, so risky? What are you talking about? And they said, well, isn't it really risky? I said, no. It's one of the least risky things you can do. I said, let me put, that's where the term idiot to genius came from. Because what I said to them is I said, look, if you screw up really bad, let's say you just make a big mistake in real estate, but you can somehow finagle the deal so that you hold on to the asset. You don't lose the asset of the real estate. They said, yeah. I said, just wait a few years. You'll go from idiot to genius in just a few years. And they're like, wow. And so anyway, so then move forward. At the end of it, Steph said, Todd, we have hundreds of podcasts go through here every month. I said, oh. And she said, nobody talks about what you just talked about. I said, are you kidding me? And she said, no. She said, nobody has ever talked about that. And Yasmine, what I realized then is we live with ourselves, just like you. Your experience with Germany, with coming to the United States, with fluffy. Oh, that's been on my mind ever since we talked, with everybody being so fluffy. That's just been on my mind. So I'm going, there's aspects of my life that I am fluffy. Like as an example, yesterday, I kid you not, yesterday, a guy I hadn't seen in years, we're literally, I sent him a video text and he's like, man, it's so good to see you. And he said, he answered back, so good to see you. It's been so long. He said, we need to get together for lunch. And I said, yes, when? He goes, how about tomorrow? But my point is, I wasn't going to let it be fluffy. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, let's go to lunch. So we're going to lunch today. Okay. And we scheduled all up, got it all booked, everything else. But because of you saying fluffy, I'm going, we got to stop this fluffy bullcrap. So anyway, so then what I started realizing is the way I look at the world, even the things we talked about, where I said Republicans are cowards and the Republican Party is cowardice, and you helped me fix that too, because I've said that Democrats were evil. No, the Democratic Party's evil. It's not the Democrats that are evil. It's the Democratic Party that's evil, and it is evil. And the Republican Party is cowardice. And I'm going, that's why we're in the mess we're in. It's because there's no leadership. There's nobody standing up and driving and saying it. So property rights are constitutionally, okay, back up. So the thing that I talked about there, one of the biggest things I talked about there when I was talking to them is I said, the Constitution is not the most important thing. And that freaked them out too, because they know I'm a constitutionalist. And they went, what? I said, the Constitution is not the most important thing. They said, what is? I said, the Declaration of Independence. And they said, why? I said, because the Declaration of Independence specifies that we have the individual right. Individually, we have the right to life, liberty, and property. And they go, no, it doesn't say that. It says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I said, yes. But do you know why it says life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? And they said, no, we don't know. I said, here's the reason why. It was going to be life, liberty, and property until the 11th hour. In the 11th hour, they changed it because of slavery, which the Democrats brought on. The Democrats are the ones that caused slavery. And slavery, and I said, and they did not want to institutionalize men owning men, man owning man. If they did property rights at that time, property was humans. That was part of property, was humans. And they said, we don't want that to happen. And they said, yeah, but hold on here. These guys were slave owners. I said, yes, they were, but they also knew it was evil. They knew, because economically, the economic structure of the world, not just the United States, the economic structure of the world was based on slavery.
I want to say something.
Yes.
Because I am going to, I'm always going to come back when you say something about Republicans, because I want you to think about this. When you say the Democrats brought on slavery, so that's, a while ago, right? Yeah. Things have changed. Republicans have changed. That's why we are in this catastrophe. Republicans used to be much different than they were 50 years ago.
And,
right?
And I agree with you. How were they different, though? I agree with you.
And they're much right now. It's terrorism. What's happening on the Republican side, as far as I'm concerned, that's my opinion. Right. So I think they're terrorists.
I love that you say it that way. Go ahead. Go.
Well, I want to make a point. This is my opinion. This is not humanitarian what's happening here. Just think about the stock exchange last week. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? It's like, okay, we all became poor and Trump changed everything. Wow, this is amazing, because now we are going back up, and hopefully in 3 months we are back where we were 2 weeks ago. Or 3 weeks ago, it doesn't matter. But right. and with the Democrats, I think, yes, maybe I'm not fighting you on this, maybe you're right. But that doesn't mean, when you say the Democrats, created slavery and the Ku Klux Klan, in my opinion, there needs to be more context, because it's not about the parties. It's about the people that were in power, and it has nothing to do with the parties. Because when leadership changes, leadership could have done something different. Well, slavery could have stopped a long time ago.
And I agree with you. That's why the founding fathers flat out stated that they were very concerned about the party system. and this is why they said they didn't like the party system, is because they said our country is founded upon principles. And having those principles, the party, like for example, if I say I'm a Republican and the Republican Party shifts, I shift with it without realizing I've shifted. And same with
You're a
people
new
that say I'm a
person.
Democrat, as the Democrats
Yeah.
shift, then all this population shifts with it. And
Mm-hmm.
the founding fathers said, no, 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 forget the parties. You have to be principle based. And those principles need to be individual liberty, individual freedom. And so that's why they had life, liberty, and property. Property rights are the complete foundation of the entire country. The reason why the United States, one of the younger countries in the world, is so dominant throughout the world is because of that principle: life, liberty, and property. And if you stop and think about it, there's no subject, and this is what I said on the podcast, there is no subject that is not easily answered by principles of life, liberty, and property. If you
Well,
believe in those things,
life, liberty, and property are not the principle. Like you said, it is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. So the property thing
well,
is
what I
not
argued on the
part of it.
podcast is no. What I suggest we do is go back to property, because now we don't have slaves. So let's go back to the fundamentals of what it was, which is property rights.
We would have to identify that every time we do a podcast and talk about this, that the reason we are going back to property is because we are adopting what was meant to be and transfer it into the modern life.
Right.
Because you're going to get backlash because it
I
is
don't think we're
pursuit of
going to talk
happiness.
about that, though. I'm just laying the
Oh,
groundwork.
oh,
I don't think
oh,
that's going to be a major thing. So that's what property rights are, though. Property rights are our right to own property. We have a right to
right.
own property.
Yeah.
And like, for example, early on, women couldn't own property. And that got changed, where they said, it doesn't matter who you are, you should be able to own property. The one thing I do believe in, quite frankly, though, is I don't think, this is my own opinion, I don't think anybody should be able to vote if they don't own property. If you don't have a vested interest in the country, I don't think you should be able to vote.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's like you haven't bought in. You haven't bought into the country. You don't have anything at risk. Why should you be able to vote?
It's
That's,
quite elitist.
what's that?
That's quite elitist.
It is. And I agree with you. It is. But at the same time, why should you be able to vote? Why should people that are on welfare, or that people that don't work, as an example, be able to vote? That makes no sense to me. All you're going to be able to do is be bought by the system. So anybody, the person who gives you the most freebies is who you're going to vote for.
I don't know. I disagree again.
I know. I love it that we disagree. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to go here to share screen. I really do. I love that we disagree. This is going to be fun. So they're going through here. So some of the questions, and I can send this to you. This is what I got up. California
Yeah.
exodus versus Utah boom. Why are thousands leaving California, and why is Utah their top destination?
Well, there is this thing about California, people leaving California, and we do statistics, right? This is more what is it called? More propaganda again, because we do this all the time about why are so many people leaving California, and maybe you got a point there. It's the people who don't own property. They are like, holy shit, it's way too expensive here, so we have to find a cheaper place. And those who
Okay,
own
we're not going
property,
to have
they are
this right
staying.
now, but just look at that comment. Look at what a great, 20-minute conversation it's going to be. It's going to be awesome. Here's another one. Property rights and politics. Are liberal or conservative states better for homeowners' rights? A direct conversation between California versus Utah comparison. Are liberal or conservative states better for homeowners' rights? What would you, just briefly, what would you say there?
Liberal or conservative?
States.
Well, The rich, it's always the same. The rich will become richer and the poor will have nothing,
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. This is going to be good. Okay, then European mindset meets American real estate. What can Germany teach California and Utah about housing, sustainability, and quality of life?
Happiness is not dependent on owning a house versus renting or living. Happiness is not owning property is does not mean you're happy. And and I feel Europeans are more about living a happy life regardless of renting or buying and feeling secure where they live. They're less concerned about home prices going up and down because there are a lot more people who rent in Europe.
Well, yeah, because doesn't the government, I assume, I'm making an assumption here, doesn't the government own a lot of land probably there?
Well, the government owns land, but they're still homeowners. I mean, I know a lot of in Germany. I have a lot of friends who own property. It's not about the government owning. It's just about, does it make sense? Many people don't want to own houses. Many people really love that they can rent something. They're protected by the government. They can't be put on the street. There are so many tenant rights in Europe that, many people think, oh, I'm just going to rent. It's so convenient, and I don't have the headache of a roof.
So are there squatter rights there too? That if can people
It's
move in
not.
and not pay their
It's
right?
not. We don't really have that. We don't have squatters in that sense.
Oh, see,
Europeans are
this
no.
discussion is going to be awesome. Seriously, seriously, this is going to be awesome.
When you don't have money for a house, you just go to the government and they help you. It's like nobody is hungry, really. Nobody needs to be hungry, and nobody needs to be homeless because we are socialists.
Right now, is it true? Because while I was getting ready for this, I kind of looked up some stuff. Is there a lot more with the influx of the foreigners coming in and everything else? Yeah, is the crime rate going through the roof like we somewhat hear?
Well, uh, I think there is the Germans are getting very. I can only speak for Germany, right? I mean, I
That's
don't
all I'm
really.
talking about is Germany.
Um, it, I think Germans are very frustrated um, and lazy. The Germans have become so lazy; it drives me crazy.
Oh, you mean
Um,
socialism creates laziness? Really?
hey, don't. Germany is still the richest country in Europe, and we still, compared to the United States in size, we do a lot more than the
Okay,
Americans
okay,
do.
all right. But you can see this conversation, how this conversation is going to go. It's going to be fun. Yasmine, seriously, this is going to be fun. Now,
As long as you keep laughing, sometimes when I might not laugh and then I see you laughing and I will remember this is supposed to be fun.
crack me up. Hold on 1 second. I can share my screen again. Oh my gosh. I love it. Love it. Okay. European. So love, divorce, and real estate. How divorce shapes the housing market in high net worth communities like Danville and Utah's Davis County. I live in Davis County. You live in Danville. So how does divorce, is that a good topic?
Well, I'm a child of divorce myself. And it's funny because I was just talking to a realtor, a top producer, number one agent up here in the agency. And I was talking to her. She has a listing just down the street from me.
Uh-huh.
And I live in a condo. I bought a condo while we were remodeling our big house, 3 houses from here. And during the divorce happened, and we had a great divorce. I mean, nothing bad.
It was
It
amiable, an amiable divorce.
Yes, yes, it was very peaceful. I mean, a little bit of weird, not weird, but resistance. But
Right.
I'm a salesperson, of course. I'm not gonna.
Well, plus
I wanted
you have
to.
a strong opinion, and he has, I'm sure, had a strong opinion.
Yes, well, you kind of first he said yes, and then he went home and thought, what the hell did she just do? She just wanted to take one more thing. It's like, what's going? So anyway, we did everything pretty much 50-50, and I bought this place. It was part of the settlement. I said, I'm going to keep the condo. I found it. When we built the house, I negotiated everything, and I'm going to have this condo. So I got the condo, and this agent, number one, right, is very affluent lifestyle. And, I see her all the time on Instagram. And I said, being a top producer here, I feel the fact that I went through a divorce, even though I'm just as well known through schools and everything, it really caused some damage on my status within the community. And not status, but people said, oh, I'm going the old fashioned way. Oh, I'm going to be friends with Lad. Oh, I'm going to be friends with Yasmine. There is still this division when people get divorced.
Right.
So I moved into the condo. And even though I live on the west side of Danville, which is the wealthiest part of Danville, I live in the ghetto, kind of. I mean, it's like I live in a condo.
Right.
So, and it's right smack downtown by the farmers market. So all these huge houses around me don't necessarily like our 7-unit building right here smack in the middle.
Right.
And so how does divorce? I think divorce is a huge detriment to people, not only in this town, but in general, because wealth gets split up. All of a sudden you have possibly 2 condo owners, or both of the parties end up renting. Financial ruin happens through that.
Interesting.
I mean, there are so many things.
That's I love it, love it, love it. Now, quick question for you: did Lad keep the big house?
Well, you know how my husband's name.
You said it.
Oh, I said it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, Lad didn't keep the big house. He couldn't eat. I mean, it was strategically. I mean, we spent $1 million on the remodel. We at the time it was the market had crashed, and we were the highest sale in Danville, period, because we had spent so much time. It was a very well-known house, and so many local people wanted it. I had multiple offers when nobody was buying. But so we sold it. We each walked away with some money. And so I got this condo, and then I went out and bought, because the houses were so cheap. I bought another condo and a small house, further east. So I get $5,000 a month in rent. And that's kind of nice to have that cushion, right? And
Right.
and this place would possibly rent for 3,200 a month. So if I really wanted to go back to Europe, I wanted to go
Right.
somewhere else, it would make, it would be nice. But with that said, I feel I need 2 more properties. So that's kind of
Okay.
where I stand. So he didn't
So,
keep the house. We sold the
you
house.
said about how devastating divorce is. If you had, looking back, hindsight's always 2020. Would you still have gotten a divorce? Knowing what you know now, would you have gotten a divorce, or would you have stayed with the marriage?
I would have gotten a divorce.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It was an emotional decision, not a financial. I'm not one of those ding dongs who stay married just for the wealth
Right.
and live miserably. Oh no.
Well, when I asked that question, I wasn't leaning one side or the other. I was just, as a whole. Let me put it this way. There's times when I've talked to people that are divorced, and I've asked them that same question. They said, if I would have known then what I know now, there's no way I would have gotten a divorce. Because what they realized, some of the people I talked to, they said I was immature in understanding that what we had was really good. We just had to find some tuning to do, that kind of thing.
No. I'd done everything. I was married 23 years. I got divorced. I was over 50. I was 50, 51. So I wasn't a spring chicken.
Right.
And no way would I have stayed there.
Well, boy, you answered that one. Okay. This is going to be so much fun. I can tell you it is going to
I
be
mean, even my
awesome.
children said, "Mom is the best thing you did."
Oh, that says it all. If the kid seriously said that, that says it all.
It was in the air. There was tension. And even today, I mean, we get along. He has a new wife. I always laugh, when she tells me stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I shouldn't even, I can't talk to you about it because I mean, what is it? Leopard, oh no, zebra stripes, leopard
Right.
dots, whatever thing. Yeah,
Right.
no. So she comes and says, sometimes she says something and I'm like, ooh, I'm just going to walk away from that. It's like,
Well, in other words, you're saying it's rekindling. You've been there, done that. You're going, that brings back memories. I had this happen and this happened and this
no,
happened.
I laugh. I find it humorous because I mean, for me, I've done a lot of healing, and he has changed a little bit. When we were married, he was very little in touch with his heart and his emotional side. So sometimes these days when he said, but she's so sad and she cries, and I look at him like, the hell are you? As if that ever mattered. You are a heartless person as far as I'm concerned. And there is still always tension, but I know that he loved me. I know it
No,
was
no,
hard
no,
for
no.
him.
And let's get real. He loves you. It's
Yeah,
not his wife, but he still does love you. And I
yeah.
think the way you talk about him right now with that tension, you still love him. It's just you don't want to be married to him, but you still love him as a person, right?
Mm,
Oh my gosh, you are cracking me up. This
like a
is seriously
brother.
going to be so much fun. So much
It's
fun.
like a brother.
Okay,
It's
there
it's
you
kind of
go.
like my least favorite brother.
Oh, you got to throw in the least favorite one. Oh my gosh, crack
But
me.
he's so nice. He can be so nice. We have our moments at holidays or at the wedding. My daughter got married, but most of the time I was like, "Are you doing anything?" What he was so involved and into, he was actually the, what is it called, when he married my daughter
Right.
and my
He was
son-in-law.
like the minister position. That
Yes.
guy.
And then he had a speech at the wedding, and I'm like, can you just get over yourself? I mean, how much longer do we have to listen to this? But he made it fun and funny, so it wasn't really fair. I just felt, you're such a fucking narcissist. I want to just slap you. And sometimes, when we have get-togethers and he sits there with his phone and organizes his photos or thinks about his ski trip that he was just on, I'm like, what are you doing? We are here. It's Easter or it's Christmas. But
Is
it was in your
Austere your
phone.
married name?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, cracking me up. All right.
It's he's nice, but God no.
He's an effing narcissist, but he's nice.
Well, but that's only because I know him deeply. People love him. And he can be funny. It's really only because I know him so well.
Yes. Number 5, is the American dream alive?
Whoa, that's a tough one. If
And
you think of California and the affluence that it provides, I mean, especially in the Bay Area, there are a lot of people with money. But American Dream, I think, if you get creative, if you work with a realtor like me,
well, plus it's define what is an American dream. Here it says exploring affordability in Utah and California. Can the middle class still thrive in these markets?
yeah, I read that. I read that, and that's what I mean. Yes,
Yeah.
the American dream is alive if you are creative and if you know your priorities.
Excellent
That's
point. Okay,
how
the
I feel.
liberal versus conservative housing battle. Which state policies actually help owners build wealth? Blue state, California, or red state, Utah? This will be an awesome conversation.
You
Resilient.
think I was like, let's leave that off.
No, 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 no. We'll have it. Resilient. I will send this list to you because I'll be honest with you. I think this list is very good, and we're not going. This is remember each one of these is going to be a different. We're only spending one session talking about this,
Yeah,
and that'll
yeah.
give us time to kind of prepare our thoughts before we meet again.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what I don't want to have happen, this one thing the reason why I'm a little, the spontaneity of you and I feeding off each other. Here's the thing I love about this whole idea. You have a very strong personality. I have a very strong personality. You have strong opinions that you voice. Anybody who knows me, they'll say, man, he'll just say whatever. If he thinks it, boom, he'll say it. I'm not hesitant. And here's the thing, though. Here's the key. I don't get offended at all. If somebody agrees with me, I
I
don't.
do.
I know. I've seen it. And I'll be honest with you. I think that's a male female thing in the way we process male to female. That's like, for example, Krista Mashore. Her and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about good versus evil, this kind of thing. And I was talking about warfare and da 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 da. And we were. It wasn't about politics at all. It was literally talking about spiritual aspects, religion, these kinds of things. And she turns to me and she said, I really have a problem with, and she made a list of war, battle, killing, da, 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 because those were topics in the conversation. And I said, Krista, you have to understand, I am male, you are female. What you're saying is you don't like, because the conversation's the same. We're talking about the same topic. It's just the way I communicate is from a masculine perspective. The way you are communicating is coming from a feminine perspective. So what I need to do so that we can communicate is I need to decrease the harshness so that you can accept and so that we can.
Okay, yeah, I hear you. And I agree with you with our generation. But there, I have friends, non-gender. You cannot even say those things. Oh, you come from a masculine perspective. They are highly offended because they feel in today's world, women and men have the capacity and should have the capacity to go both ways. They feel that it's a lousy excuse when a man says, oh, this is just because I'm a man, or a female says, well, you have to understand, I'm a woman.
Well, if you use it as an excuse, I think that's wrong. But if you
Right.
use it as a point to improve communication, saying, hey, I'm not making an excuse for what I said. I still believe everything I said, but let's talk about it. And you hear Krista say all the time, don't let the verbiage destroy the message or something along
Yes.
those lines.
Yeah.
Don't let this, and that's what I said to her. I said that back to her. I said, don't let the verbiage destroy the message. And she laughs because she says that all the time, you know. And I said, the message is still the same. And she goes, excellent point. And she literally said it. She goes, excellent point.
I hear you, but I just wanted to point that out. For me, it's exactly right. I agree with you. I have more of a female. It's kind of like, I'm not a hardcore feminist, but I stand up for my rights and I will never let a man walk all over me.
I,
But the thing is, and then you have the softness in you to say, well, I'm coming from a male perspective. And I can say, I know I sometimes come on a little bit strong because, I've had my experience with strong men and therefore I'm doing this and that. When you're in touch with that, when you're in touch with yourself and and the psychology of humanity, you we evolved with it, right? We came
right.
from the caves and we know what the cave thing was, and you and I have grown, and we are today who we are because we put effort into it and because it's interesting to us to see what was in the past. But there are people and there are women who will take nothing for them. It's a very, very bad thing that men had all the opportunities and all the chances and all the excuses over thousands of years, and they feel now is our time. And how dare you, being a man, saying, oh, you're coming from they see those statements as weakness.
They're not at
I
all.
know, but it is that, I mean, there are a lot of women who have an issue
So
with
funny you
that.
bring that up because my daughter's a nurse. and she just got her goal from the time before she was even a nurse. When she was in school, she wanted to ultimately work in the emergency rooms. That was her goal, was to be in the ER. She just accomplished it today. Today's her first day in the ER. Okay.
Oh,
But here's the thing they said to her. And my daughter is a very feminine. She's extremely feminine, but she's a butt kicker. And with her patients, I mean, I could go on and on and on. Her bosses, when she comes onto a floor, she changes the spirit, the dynamic of that entire floor because of the way she approaches things, the way she approaches her patients and everything else. But here's an aspect to it though. She's a very emotional person, very emotional. And when she got hired in the ER, they said, we have some concerns though. And she said, what's the concern? And they said, your emotions. And she was doubting herself yesterday when she was talking to me. She says, and she told them, she said, why are you worried about my emotions? And they said, well, we've seen you have, they called it an emotional breakdown. She said, I never had an emotional breakdown. But when, like for example, when she works on a patient and is literally taking infection out of a wound and they're screaming bloody murder,
yeah.
and she does that. She does that. She takes care of that. And she's reaching in. She said, Dad, I was going all the way to the bone in this guy's leg. And I said, oh, you're kidding me. And she said, no. And she said, of course, he's screaming bloody murder, but I've got to get this cleaned up in order for him to heal. Well, while she's doing it and he's screaming, she's in the fight. She's getting it done. She doesn't matter how bad he screams, doesn't matter if he passes out, doesn't matter. I'm going to get this taken care of. Afterwards, she cries. She steps away and she gets emotional and she cries. And I said, what that is you nurses many times, whether male or female, they lose their humanity. They're not empathetic. They have no empathy and they don't cleanse. So all they have is toxicity building up. When you cry, you are cleansing. And I said, and
Yes.
that's where your power comes in, because now you step away from this patient. You love this patient. You have empathy for this patient. You have connection with this patient. And you step away and you cleanse in your tears and you're ready for the next patient. And she said, oh
Yes,
my gosh, that is so true. I said, do
it
not be
is.
intimidated by these people who are questioning your emotions, because your emotions are what give you power. And what I've explained to my daughters, I said, I have 3 daughters. What I explained to them, I said, don't ever think you need to be a man. Your
Wow.
femininity is where your power is. My masculinity is where my power is. So me as a man, and I said, and quite frankly, and I know I'm going to go scriptural for a second. Scriptures teach that man's responsibility is to love and cherish his wife. The woman's responsibility is to honor and respect her husband. And I said, what does that tell you? I said this to my daughters. I said, what does that tell you? And they go, what do you mean? I said, read between the lines. What does that tell you? And that they go, what does it mean? I said, think about it. I am to love and cherish my wife, and she is supposed to honor. I said, what that tells you is the guy, the male, living his male self at his highest level, is at times an asshole. And she goes, they go, what? I said, he's an ass. At times he's an ass. And that's him living at his highest level. She's not commanded to love and cherish him, because sometimes he's an ass. And I said, if I wasn't an ass at times, and when I say an ass, what I mean is I'm a fighter. I'm here to protect the family. I'm here to kick ass and take names. If there's somebody that's coming against my family, I have to have the capacity of extreme violence. If a man does not have the capacity, not that he does it, but if he doesn't have the capacity to be extremely violent, he's lost his manhood, in my opinion. He's no longer a man. Why do you exist? The reason why I'm here is to protect my family and to have the option of extreme violence. And my wife said to her and her friend were having a discussion. And her friend said, well, do you really think your husband could kill some? Oh, and my wife later said, oh, I have no doubt. I have no doubt. He could slit somebody's throat, no problem. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. It's true. But anyway, it's fascinating. But so many, the thing we've lost, oh, I could go on and on about this, but the thing we have lost is women so many times, or feminists, the feminist movement thinks they need to be in the man spot. You don't want to be there. It doesn't make you the best. You are so powerful in your humanity. In the creation, God created all the animals, created man. The crowning glory of the creation was woman. Woman is the crowning glory of the creation. There's nothing better. The best thing God ever made was a woman.
No. Well, yes, I agree. Well, I'm not so sure. I think when it comes to what you just said, you have your vision or your view on this. Women are fighting to have the same positions and the same rights and the same money. You're not a woman. You have absolutely no clue what women have endured. Yes, you can read history books, and yes, you can have, but you do not have the innate pain. You do not have that because you come from the caves. You've always been rah rah, let's go kill someone or something and provide. And we are the men, and we were the healers and the gathers. Yes. And so it's like there was very little, in my opinion, very little brain activity or growth when it comes to to males, because they had one goal, and for thousands of years
No, they
it
had
was
two.
just to bring, well, yes,
Have sex and eat. Those are the two goals. That's it.
exactly. So, and then so the females, we are so far ahead psychologically, that it's thousands of years of
Okay.
development. And
The reason why we were having this discussion is what I want. This raw discussion like we're having now. I want that when we talk. Even though we're
oh
gonna have time to
yes,
process, I
yeah,
want a
yeah, wait,
rough.
yes, I know what you said earlier. You're hesitant to provide me with a list.
Yes.
I'm not one to, I have one podcast. No, it's just kind of like with a lender, this thing we do 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And there I need to know, because it has to be very specific.
Right.
With you, it's a passionate conversation, and I will just look at that sheet and say, oh, today we are doing this. Okay, let me think for a minute. I do nothing with script, really. The worst when it comes to scripts.
You and I both.
So, yeah, so I'm just going to
We are
be
going to
me.
kill it. Seriously, we are going to kill it. It is going to be so good. And if Krista ever sees our conversation, she's going to go, holy shit.
Talk about unfiltered, right?
Yes, yes. That's what we could. That's what we should call our podcast, is Unfiltered.
Yeah, I was thinking about something catchy, because that's what they say, right? So maybe we should think about some chat GPT and do what catchy podcast name can we have? So
Yeah,
that's maybe something we can think about for next time. But let's continue to get to know each other, so that and finish the list maybe next week, and come up with a list of 20 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever.
I think we ought to have our first session next week. I really do. I really do. Let's just have our first session next week. Let's just
Fine,
go. Because
fine.
this whole thing, this whole dialogue that we've been having on these different topics back and forth, this could have been a stinking one. Well, actually, am I recording this? We got it. I've been recording this whole thing.
You could cut. I mean, I don't know about 45-minute podcasts, how, so
It's
we
going to be
could
very
take maybe
short.
parts.
We're going to have I'm not going to worry about this one right now. I'm not going to worry about this, because what I want to have, this is what we could literally do. Okay, first of all, let's just take this one step at a time. Let's pick one topic. We'll be talking about it for maybe 20 minutes, and that's it. And we're going to go back and
Yes.
forth and do this. We won't do it on in talking with Steph. I talked to Steph. I told her about our conversation, what we were doing. She goes, "You guys talked about all this after I left?" I said, "Yeah, after you left, we had all this conversation." She said, "Was it heated?" And I said, "No, it wasn't. We just had an open conversation." And she said, "Well, you both have," Steph said, because Steph does not have, she's not passionate about these subjects. And she said,
Yeah,
"You
she
both
sat
have
there.
very
I could
strong."
see, I
Yeah.
could tell that she was like, whoa, what the heck is happening here? But she was really good. I really liked her.
Oh, she's amazing. But and she said, "But you both have very strong personalities, very strong positions." I said, "Yeah." And I said, "So we're talking about doing this meeting." She goes, "Wow, that could really be good as long as you guys don't kill each other." And I said, "Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine." And she's like, "Okay." And the other thing that I really do love, and I mean this sincerely, and I mean it as complimentary as I can possibly be, is through everything you've gone through, so many times women lose their femininity when they go through those things. You have not. I'm so fascinated by that, that you have
Ah,
maintained your femininity, still presenting as a very feminine woman. That is such a, it's gorgeous, and it's such a huge strength. It's a huge
oh,
strength.
thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, I do want to tell you a little bit before we part. My mother was an ER nurse. My mother left the family house at 14 and became a nurse. She was actually in a Catholic nurse environment in Karlsruhe. I mean, this is a very Catholic city, and she used to walk. She used to walk 5 miles from her parents' house to the train station, would then go on the train for an hour and become a nurse. And then after that, she became an ER nurse.
Wow.
And so she was an ER nurse, and then she left nursing to pursue. Oh, she became the town's midwife.
Wow.
Yes. So when I was born, she was actually the midwife in our little town of 5,000. I mean, you can imagine in the time that she was there, every child was brought to earth through her. And my mom had that, what you said about your daughter. She had that very heartfelt personality, but she could dig. I mean, she would. So when we grew up, I had a younger sister, only 15 months younger, but it so often appears like 10 years younger. And she would fall all the time. And I became my sister's nurse. And my mom would teach me, okay, this is
Wow.
how you do a professional bandage. And we would, for her business, for her nursing thing, she would wash all the bandages, and we would sit there for hours rolling them up because they were reused. And it was just so fascinating. And my mother later joined my dad in his business for 20 years, and she was just doing paperwork and making sure that some of the money that he spend in casinos would stay with us. So it's polar opposites, my parents.
Did
And
they end up
that,
getting divorced?
no, never.
Wow.
My mother said, you can't, her motto was, when you get married, all these rules of, you either love somebody or you don't. And discrepancies or other women have nothing to do with my love for him.
Oh my heavens. That is
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think, damaging to us because I grew up with my dad's, not, I didn't grow up with, we rarely saw them, but there were times where we would be in restaurants or in casinos, and my mom and my dad's girlfriend would be at the same table.
You're kidding me.
Oh no, they were nice people. I mean, they were always nice, very classy women. And then the
Did your
last
mother
girl,
know? But here's the thing: when they were at the same table, did your mother know that that was his mistress?
of course.
Oh my heavens!
Of course. I mean, she was like, if this is what you want. So it was very, very discreet. Don't forget, the Europeans are very different when it comes to that stuff. So Americans would have heart attacks, right? They can't even comprehend. But it was a different time, and it was very specific to our family. There is no other family or nothing that I've ever heard who had the ability, and it was because of my mother's um, understanding that when you love somebody, that love is not defined by his sexual activity. And maybe I still don't know the depths of that, but maybe she didn't have the sexual desires that he had. So now this man who she loves to death is supposed to not have sex for the rest of his life.
But you really don't know if they were.
I know I spoke with her numerous times why she and she's like, my interest, she did say my interest, what my priority was not sex. And I wanted to not make the marriage dependent on our sex life. And they were business partners. They had the business together. They had the children together. They built the wealth to get together. And my dad sometimes said, we should get a divorce. And my mother said no, because in Germany it's different. There's the no, it's not the no fault situation. You
Right.
actually have to prove why. So, and she said no, and she stuck with her guns. And so I would say for the first 30 years, for the first 35 years, I remember the first time I remember I was eight. I think at 8 I met that girlfriend for the first time, and uh but then he was discreet and he was very classy,
Was it?
and but he
I'm not justifying it at all because obviously, one of my goals in life, one of my goals in life is to truly dot. And I don't mean this from a repentance standpoint of view. I want to be able to pass away without ever having stepped out on my wife, ever. That's just not even. No, 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 no. And I've had plenty of opportunities. You look at this face and you're like, how does he had so many opportunities? But it's called my business, I traveled a lot and everything else. I've had plenty of opportunities, and I've always, knock on wood, I've always stayed away from that. But the thing that I'm not justifying it, but it sounds like though there was almost an agreement that he would not demand, or demand might be the wrong word, but he might not demand sex from your mother, but he was going to fulfill his biological needs elsewhere.
Oh, there was an understanding. It was not disrespectful. I think the way that they worked it out is no secrets. No secrets. And if you live a life with no secrets, then you kind of have to go all the way. You either, it's not, no half-ass thing. It's like,
Right.
oh, but I was honest 80% of the, well, that doesn't count. You're
Right.
either honest or not. So, and I think for them, it worked out. Of course, the family around us, they were all like, holy crap. And I think I was 9 when I told my mother the first time, get a divorce. I said, this is not good. You need to get a divorce. And we can go away. We can do other stuff. And she was always saying, love is more than sex. And I love you. For me, there is no other man. I love him. I will forever love you. But so here comes the thing. 35 years later, company is gone, money is gone, house is gone, everything is bad. My dad goes to jail for whatever, for taxes.
Tax evasion.
We owe a shitload of money. My mom comes to the United States to stay with my sister for 8 months. I'm still in Germany. Eventually, I come here. And 5 months later, my mom goes back. My dad gets out of jail, and they've been in love for the last 30 years. More than I mean, sometimes it was like, go get a room. I'm
So
like, this
all of a
is
sudden they rekindled their sex life.
my dad. No, no, no. Sex life. No, 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 no. My mom was very sick.
Oh God.
So It was not 35
So
years.
it was, I
It
think it
was
was love. It was, they rekindled their love.
20 years. I think the last 20 years. He would, my mom and was in the hospital and she became his everything. He would twice a day go to the care center. He would hold her hand all the time. He would kiss her hello and goodbye. And it wasn't sexual. It was this pure affection and deep, deep love. And I think he made up for it. And
Intimacy,
it was
really, what
so
you're talking about
special.
is just so intimate. I mean, and I don't mean that
So
sexually, I
special.
mean just so, wow,
It
wow.
was really, I mean, he really, really did his, and we talk about it sometimes. He's very guided, of course, around all that stuff, and he doesn't remember a lot of things. There were so much went on during those times where he would live the wild and crazy life that I don't think that he, yeah, was just, I mean, it'll come up here and there when we talk, but I was just all I wanted to say is that your daughter, that passion and the emotions and you know that kindness is so often seen in the good nurses, the ones who actually are going to, they were born with it. It's just like being a born
I
salesperson. You
I
can't get it
agree.
out of a person.
I agree. Well, my daughter, she is just she's just amazing. I mean, she really is. And I say that, of course, I'm biased, but I'm not really. Meaning, I'm very logical. And so I don't think I'm being biased. Actually, I know I'm not, because the number of people that see her with her patients, like she'll walk into a room and have a patient that's belligerent and nobody else can handle him. First of all, she doesn't put up with bull crap. She'll come in and tell him, no, 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 you do not talk to me that way ever. And she will put him in his place so quick, and yet create connection and love
Mhm.
and they love her. I mean, that's all there is to it. They love her. You know what I mean? And she just has that skill. It's a gift. It really is a gift.
Yes.
She has a gift of coming in, taking control of a situation, putting people in their places, but they know she cares for them. They know that that kind of thing.
Yes.
And it's fascinating to watch. It's just the
You
world.
said you have three daughters?
I have three daughters. Yeah.
I have two.
Do you? Do you have any sons?
No.
Just the two
I have
daughters.
a grandson,
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
first boy.
That's exciting. So exciting. Okay. Next week, let's do the first talk. I will email you
Just
this.
email me. Just tell me. It doesn't matter to me. I actually do very well with direction. You just tell me we're doing the first one or the fifth one, whatever. Here is the list. We're going to go through the list, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Today, next week we are doing one. The following we are doing six. Whatever you want.
Okay. And this is where I think it's going to get. As we get a cadence here, as we start working this, and we get comfortable being in somewhat conflict, then what's
Yes.
going to happen? And as we go back and forth, I think what's going to happen is we're going to be able to sit down and we'll be able to pound out 5 or 6 of them, 5 or 10 in one session. And then we'll break them up
Ah.
to shorts, and we'll be able to schedule them out for
Oh,
months. We'll
wonderful.
be
Oh
able to
my God, I love that.
we'll be able to have content for months.
Oh, how nice. I
That's
love
the
it.
goal. That's the goal. We'll start off just one. We're only going to do one. And maybe we'll do that for, maybe 5 weeks. We just do one, just do one, just do one as we get this cadence. Then we'll make a whole list of stuff. And during that hour, let's pound out 3 or 4 or whatever. And then we'll be creating volume. Does that make sense?
I think 15 minutes is a 15-minute session people can last. If we are catchy, they can last 15 minutes, but anything over,
Yasmine, to
maybe
be
if we
totally
have a
honest with
million.
you, I bet
Yes.
you it ends up being shorter. I think
Well,
you and I
good.
are going to be able to get in a cadence where we're going to sit down, we're going to have the discussion, we're going to have the passion of the discussion, and boom, done. And it's just going to be
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that. I mean, you said
I
20
bet we can
minutes,
get to
so
less than 5 minutes. Ultimately, that's not our goal right now. But ultimately, as we're going to be able to get in there, boom, 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 make our points.
love it.
We'll probably have a 15-minute period of time, and then we'll cut it down to like 5 minutes or something. But where we're going to do it is on that app that we used yesterday. What was it?
Mhm.
That's what we'll
I
use.
am. Okay.
Okay. I will get that account set up because when I was
Okay.
talking to Steph, she said, you have to use, don't use Zoom, use whatever it is, use this. And I said, now why? And she said, because that has AI built into it where it will create your shorts and everything very, very quickly.
Tell me, can we, I mean, you are going to set it up, but I honestly, I would like to have like more of it, and I'll pay, if it costs money, I'll pay half of it so that both of us have ability to go in.
Oh, I'll
It's
give you the
like
password and everything.
I just don't want to end up where it's like you decide to do this with somebody else and then I'm locked out.
No, no, not at all. And that will not happen with me, I promise. But I will still give you access. I will still give you complete access. I'll set it up and I'll give you the.
Okay, good.
I don't even know how much it costs. I really don't. But she
Okay.
told me, don't use Zoom. Use this program.
Yeah, and maybe we can start with, you set it up and, whatever. And then as we see that this is a good system, we can share the fee or whatever you see fit. I
Okay.
mean, I don't want you to think that I'm going to not
No, but I
equally.
will. I will give you though. As soon as I set it up, I will give you the password to it so that you can get in.
Perfect.
Okay.
Great. I'm so excited.
Oh, I'm way excited. And this conversation, we've been going back and forth just on this, and I'm over here rolling as you bring stuff up. I love it, love it, love it. I love the whole cadence. I love the spirit of the whole thing. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be killer.
Great. And then at some point, we will talk about how to market it or how to best get it out there. Do you recommend I have another YouTube account, or can I just dump it into my in my current YouTube?
I think you can dump it into your current YouTube. You can do either way, but I'm going to probably just dump it into my current YouTube. That's all I'm going to do.
Right.
And then I'm
Okay.
probably going to create ultimately, not right now, but ultimately I'm going to create like a um on like on my website or on one of my funnels, it's going to have the thing across the top. Then I'll have like maybe it's unfiltered. Just as an example, I'm going to
Yeah.
have unfiltered here where people can click on it and boom, our episodes are there
Same.
and people can.
Yeah, I currently have that already. I don't know if you've seen. I just revamped my entire. I have my brother-in-law in Europe actually is my website designer, and he does everything. So I just redid the whole thing. It's 90% done. We're still waiting for IDX and all of that, but he's done a really, really good job. I'm very happy with it, and it was worth every penny. So
Like,
I'm really excited.
how
So,
much did you pay for that?
well, he starts at $1,500, but everything is mine. So, it's like I don't have a monthly membership, nothing. And it's through WordPress and it's hosted by Orange in LA. That's actually I was with GoDaddy for 25 years, and he's always complained. And with Orange, it's like $12 a year. Not only is it more affordable, but it's also a lot more user friendly, and he can be much more creative with them, with plugins and all of that. So I went with Orange, and he
Were you
redid the
able
whole thing.
were you able to use your GoDaddy URL and move it over to Orange?
Mhm.
Sweet.
I had 6 or 7 website names, so I moved them all over.
To
At
Orange.
some point, I had 20 URLs, but over time, I decided, why bother? They all seem the same, but I
If
get
I
sometimes
wanted to, if the time came that I wanted to hire, is it your brother you said?
brother-in-law.
If I wanted to hire a brother-in-law, could I hire him?
Of course,
Okay.
of course,
Yeah. Cool.
anytime. I mean, check it out, see what you like. But he's very creative. He takes direction really well in a sense of this is what I want. It's kind of like I send him a few websites that inspire me. And so I said, I like this one. I like the modern part of this one. I like how deep it goes on that one. And then, if I want to change my bio, I just send it, and a day later, it's a new bio. I mean, it changes all the time. So, however, I want to change it. It's not him being proactive, but
Man, you're making
yeah.
me switch. It's like I just want to get things done. It's
Oh,
driving.
that's how he is. I did nothing. I just sent him, I said, hey, here's Jill's website. Here is Nicole's website. I'd like to have the depth from this and the modern from this. And he put it perfectly together. And he's always focused on making it phone friendly. I mean, on the phone, it almost looks better than on the screen
Wow.
because it fits perfect.
Oh, okay. What's your website?
EastBayRelocations.com.
Oh, so that's what I thought it would be. East Bay. I am going to take a look at your website. I will check it out. And I
Like
tried
I
to
said,
friend
it's
you on
not
Facebook.
100% done.
I understand. I tried to friend you on Facebook, so you better
You
friend.
did?
Yeah, you better friend me back.
Of course. I'll do it right now after we hang up.
All right, all right. We'll talk
All
to you
right.
later. See you
See
next
you
week.
next
Next
week.
Friday,
See you
we're gonna
next
do it.
week. Yes. See you next week.
Yep, looking forward.
Bye.
Take care.
Me too. Bye.